The Jay and Dre Show. I'm your host, Dre,
And I'm your boy Jake.
and we got a interesting topic for debate. America has kind of been embroiled the last, what would you say, 6, 7 months?
Yeah, since around April, I want to say. Yeah.
Yeah, give or take. I'm a little short, but it's the whole Me Too movement, and a lot of powerful figures in various industries, even politics, have been taken down by accusations of sexual misconduct and harassment from Roy Moore, Al Franken, Harvey Weinstein, so on and so forth, Russell Simmons. There's a litany of names, John Travolta. And one question that a lot of people, I feel kind of at this point of having, is where is this movement going, and kind of what is the extent of it? Because from an average brother standpoint, I can't say that it's kind of one of those things that a lot of guys are even watching it. They can't, like, they aren't really sure what to make of it.
The Matrix, man. It's scared, man. You know.
Nah, like real talk, man. It's got. I feel like it's got people on especially guys on their best behavior now in professional settings.
I'm glad. Let me say, starting by saying it, that I'm glad that this happened, because I think it's one of those things that everybody knew that it was going on. Like, I've never been in Hollywood. I've never been on a casting couch. But I mean, you know, you have whole genres of porn based off of that. Like, it's one of those things where even if you're not in that sect of society, you know, like, for certain people to reach certain heights in different avenues, such as acting or the music genre or anything of that nature, it's certain acts that certain women, and mostly women, certain men too, but mostly women had to do. So from that standpoint, I'm glad that finally was getting called out, that it's not right. You shouldn't have to perform sexual favors to get something that you earn or you deserve. With that said, though, man, I'm worried. I'm worried, and I feel like it's getting to the point where it's getting too far. My supervisor, right? She's a woman, and she brought the subject up at work. I was on lunch break. She brought the subject up, and I was like, I'm not gonna touch this. I'm just be quiet. But she kind of said what a lot of men are thinking. It's like, man, okay, if it's sexual penetration, that's definitely wrong. But at some point, at a certain time, how can you come 20 years removed from a situation and say, Andre pat me on my butt, he sexually harassed me?
Yeah.
I mean, like, you gotta have some kind of.
Those, I feel you. Like, those are the ones where I feel it kind of gets into a little bit of a gray area, and it's kind of the thing, like, even with Cosby to a certain extent, because a lot of the accusations against him were not necessarily sexual acts, like, you know, intercourse or anything like that. But basically, there was women saying that they would misappropriate touches or gropes or stuff like that in the midst of a party in the 70s and 80s and whatnot, which, you know, not to diminish anything that transpired with that, but, you know, I feel that there was a wide range of the gravity of the accusations against her. You know, misappropriate, not to belittle it, but somebody slapping you on the butt and somebody drugging you to take advantage of you. Those are two different ends of the spectrum. You know what I'm saying? And it's one of those things, I feel kind of like with instances like that where it's kind of more so a violation of personal space, I feel more like those things kind of have to be handled in the moment. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's kind of one of those things. I know it's depending on who it is, you can really be asking a lot. Like, but real talk, like, if you feel somebody is violating your personal space, or somebody's approached you, or somebody's conducting themselves in a way around you that you don't feel it is you're comfortable with, like, I really feel you have to at some point establish somewhat of a boundary. And I think with some of these guys, that was part of their misconduct, was that they had this influence, but nobody ever really truly pushed back on them. And some of these guys, don't get me wrong, like Weinstein was just creeps, man.
Man, just creeps, man. That guy deserves to be locked up. Man, he deserves. He's one of the ones. He deserves to be locked up, but he definitely deserves to get thrown away. And I don't want to misconstrue with us victim blaming or victim shaming. I know that's one of the first things, but I gotta say it, man.
Oh no, because go ahead.
We living in a generation. We can't excuse people for having common sense, man. And what I'm saying by that is this. If I say Andre, or let's pretend he's a female. If I say Shaniqua, come to my room. I'm just saying, bro. But if I say come to my room 2 a.m. in the morning, man, come on. Like, what business can we talk about in my hotel room 2 a.m. in the morning? It's like, at a certain point, man, we gotta say, listen, bro, it's some common sense and some personal responsibility. And don't get me confused with a person saying, hey, she wore a dress that invited that sexual attention. She deserved to get groped. I'm not condoning, I'm not saying that by any means. What I am saying is this, man, you just cannot, I understand that no means no win. But at the end of the day, bro, if I don't want, we call it smoking knives, if I don't want trouble, I shouldn't be walking through a dark alley in a bad neighborhood 1:30 a.m. and then get mad if I mean, it's like, yeah, man, I'm just walking. But at the same time, bro, it's like, where is the personal responsibility and the common sense? Where does that start? That's my only thing. Like, where does that start?
And I think that's a serious debate to be had, but I think really with the Me Too movement, and especially in relation to what it means for people of faith, and even the candidacy of Roy Moore, I think it brings up an interesting question for people in America, and it is, do we truly value the women in our society? And when I say that, I don't mean value as in, like, have respect for, because of course everybody respects their mother, of course everybody respects the sisters, but, like, for instance, Roy Moore was a Senate candidate for Alabama, and he just barely lost.
Barely lost.
And I think it says something when you have people, basically this is why it was widely known that and discussed that he had a thing for underage women when he was like in his 30s or 40s. And you have these women coming forward who are conservative, who are saying like, yo, there's all these types of misconduct happening. I would try to avoid them. This one lady said like he came to her school or something like that, or he was calling her school while she was in class to talk to her and stuff like that, like stuff that's clearly inappropriate, and it was obviously overlooked by a large portion of the electorate. And I think it really leads to a place where we as Americans have to look at ourselves and ask these hard questions, like, you know, do we place the same value on our women in society as we do our men?
No, we don't. I don't think it's even close. Black men in America had the right to vote for a white woman. Mm-hmm. Our women are our greatest natural resource. No matter what the race is, no matter what the ethnicity is, we do not place an equitable value on women in our society. But as far as the Roy Moore, as far as that situation, I think that's more a reflection of the volatileness or whatever the big word is, volatility, whatever, of our politics right now. I think our politics are so volatile right now that people would rather in their mind, form a way to say, I'm basically going to find a way to justify the statutory rapist. I'd rather find a way to validate him before I vote for a Democrat, or just not vote at all.
Well, this would be my only counter to what you're saying, and I'm not saying that what you're saying is necessarily untrue, but I think you have to look at certain denominations of faith where, for instance, if, say for instance, a young girl was violated in a certain way, she gets blamed. Like it's on Twitter right now. I think it's a hashtag called Church2. Basically, it's all these women sharing these experiences, tweeting about it that they had. Like I read one. This woman was saying that she was raped when she was young, when she was about 12 years old, and her family made her go and apologize. Her family and pastor made her apologize to her rapist for raping her. And I think it's something larger. Like, I agree with what you're saying in the vein of politics, but I was also speaking it in the vein of faith with Roy Moore, because he painted himself as a conservative Christian bashing of morality. And not to say everybody sees things the way he does, but like I said, he barely lost, man. There's a lot of people that agree with him.
And it is Alabama. I mean, yeah, no offense, but it is Alabama.
Nah, I'm not saying it's backwoods Bama, but still, it's.
Side note, man, it's a study going around. I forgot the name of the Higgs worm or something like that. It was like Alabama, man. They have residents that have third world illnesses at like a 35% rate. It's kind of crazy down there. But anyway, going back to what you were saying, you said in the vein of religion.
Yeah, because
I hear what you're saying, and it was religion had a big part to do with it. He's supposed to be the religious values guy, just this and that. But I maybe if you say religion, but what I'm trying to get at is I don't like when people do wrong things and try to justify it through religion or Christianity. When clearly it's nothing to justify. I said nothing of such. I really think it's just society, man. Our society, the world. No matter what country you go to, some people say Nubia and different places, but for what I know, even the modern day America, 99% of the time, women are considered second-class citizens. And it's almost one of the things where it's like, man, yeah, he raped you, but look at you. That dress was too short. Or, and that's going back to what I said earlier about common sense, that's the touchy part of that line. When you saying, you gotta use some form of common sense, why are you justifying that? I wasn't justifying. What I am saying, kind of, to this point, is that it's not really, to me, it's not religious. It's just an issue with men. Like, it's almost like we're the big dumb oafs walking around with the thing on our back, you come here. And we don't have any responsibility. It's kind of like the little boy comes home and says, Mommy, Daddy, I got 10 girlfriends. We slap him. Oh, what's up, little man? But we tell the young lady, no. You need to wait till marriage. You need your body is a temple. That's not right. But that's basically taught in every sect, every ethnicity of our country. It's like, I don't know, man. I don't even think it's religion. It's just one of those things where, for generations upon generations across the face of the earth, the female gender has been saw as the lesser. And at the same time, when things that Roy Moore did or bad things happen, instead of the male stating that, man, we need to get ourselves under control or we're wrong, we place the blame on the woman. I just think it's a man issue. It's a male issue more than anything.
And I can see where you're coming from. And the thing about it, when you say it's a society issue, I would largely agree with that. The thing about it is, people who want to do certain things will use whatever means or methods they can to justify their actions, whether it be simply by political power, whether it be by certain forms of financial manipulation, whether it be by religious manipulation, so on and so forth. The whole list goes down. If somebody's determined to do something and they need a way to justify it, 9 times out of 10 they gonna find a way to justify it.
It's fact. But before we end it, man, I wanna the women, and I'm gonna just be frank with you. It's certain cases I heard where I'm like, man, I can't get behind that one. But it has been horrendous stories that have come out or have came out about music industry, about Hollywood, politics, just all over the place. And I just want you to speak to, and this happens in everyday stuff as well. You know, this happens when the professor tells the college student, "Hey, you need that. You need a C to pass this class. You know, hey, you know, come do some after study." This happens on a Joe and Jane basis every day too. But I just want you to speak to the females who might have had this experience, and males too. Terry Crews has proved that it happened to males too.
Yeah.
But the people who this might have happened to, who don't know where to go or turn.
Nah, I mean, first of all, I want to say that I have actually, I've seen it in the work environment. It's on my past places of employment where you get to certain places and it's known such and such is sleeping with such and such manager. Mm-hmm. And, you know, they may not get promoted. And more often than not, if they're not promoted, that's when everything kind of hits the fan and all the dirty laundry kind of comes out. Mm-hmm. And if you're in one of those situations, from an HR standpoint, most places, it honestly is like this. It's okay for you to, say for instance, if I see a woman and I think she's pretty and I want to ask her out on a date. In most places, that's perfectly fine, as long as that's not your direct report, as long as you're not her direct manager. Mm-hmm. And the thing about it is, though, like say for instance, say I approach her and she says no. All right, at that point, you have to leave it alone. You have to leave her alone, and you can't really do anything that could be misconstrued as a forceful advance. Like, you know, if she says, "Yo, no, thank you, but no, thank you." Okay, cool. Well, you know, if you ever change your mind, you know, holler at me. And that's pretty much where you got to leave it. Otherwise, you put yourself in jeopardy to be able to be fired. And it's one of those things that I feel a lot of companies really wrestle with. And it's one of those things that I feel is kind of unavoidable in some senses, because if you're single, there probably isn't any greater place that you're going to spend your time than your place of employment.
That's a great point.
And I mean, like, real talk, like, a lot of people, I mean, there's certain terms we all know: work wife, work husband, work family, blah, blah, blah. It's really real, though. Like, I'm with this person. I'm beside this person for 8 hours a day. It's only 24. A third of it, I'm already asleep, supposedly. So, you know, I'm with this person automatically 8. So, in a lot of cases, people don't even spend as much time with their family as they do the people that they work with. So, I feel it's kind of natural that some folks, you know, gravitate and even come to work for relationships. The thing about it is, we have to know how to navigate those waters, because especially when it starts to get into different tiers of position, that's where things become especially murky. And that's not even necessarily say something's nefarious, but even like, you say you and somebody start a relationship and you get promoted, then you get promoted directly over that person. You know, it's a whole lot of.
It's a lot to come with it.
Yeah, like, and there's so many scenarios that I can't read. We can make a whole video on its own with that. But I mean, basically within within the workplace, if somebody really finds themselves in a position where they feel like somebody's asking for explicit quick pro quo, like sleep with me or do this for me in exchange for a promotion or in exchange for better pay or whatever like that, then they should really take that to HR immediately. And if they have witnesses, if they have documentation, anything really truly concrete, the more evidence for your case, the better you have. Because more often than not, a lot of people really think that it's only them, and they don't feel that they'll be taken seriously. But more often than not, if they're doing it to you, they probably try to do it to someone else in the past. And the difference really can be, well, we only had this one person come up, we don't have anything concrete. But if I'm HR, okay, this person came forward, this person came forward, this person came forward. I may not have any smoking gun, but there's a whole lot of smoke here for it not to be fired. You know what I'm saying?
I feel you, man. It's just, and going back to the defending the victim, it's hard, man, because there's so many cases where a woman has reported something and has went to HR, and then this guy has been with the company 10 to 15 years. She's been with the company 6 months.
Oh, and I'll say this,
You know,
because real talk, I did have someone come to my office at one of my past jobs that same exact scenario. There was a manager that was trying to have sex with them and making these advances towards them that the girl, she didn't appreciate it. It was another woman that was making these advances, and she came to me because she kind of confided in me a little bit. Like, we talked about some personal stuff off the clock, and the biggest thing that I felt kind of was the biggest mistake with that situation and how it was handled was, when you go to HR, you need to portray it as what it is. And when she went to HR, she kind of portrayed it as, oh, this person's just hitting on me, and you know, I don't want nothing bad to happen, like them to lose their job or anything like that. When in reality, it was much more serious. Like, this person was abusing their position, pulling them off the floor, trying to pull them into an office or a secluded space, basically to have sex with them on the site of the job. You know, so if you go to HR, at that point it's all in. It's no half step. Like, you gotta tell it for what it is, because more often than not, if you try to dial it back, it's gonna basically come across as something that's probably permitted. Like, the situation I described, it came across as, oh, well, these are somebody trying to get a date.
yeah.
You know, and
oh, it's not that serious. He's just like, yeah.
You know, hey, that's a whole different conversation. Hey, this person doesn't want to date you. Lay off on the advances. Don't do anything that can be misconstrued. Versus, hey, you're abusing your position. You're trying to basically.
Hey, what's up? Hey, we recording a video, baby.
You know, basically at that point, it's like, hey, you know, this person's abusing their position. You're trying to basically, I guess you could say, in some instances of the word, force a sexual encounter through your title and position, and that's one that's
you made it a misdemeanor when it really was a felony.
Yeah, that's one that most companies, I don't care who they are, that's gonna be like an automatic fire, because nobody wants those things around. And the worst thing to have is a case like that be reported and nothing be done.
Lawsuit.
Oh yeah.
And I just want to say, man, to any males or females who might be going through that situation, just know that I like what you said, man. If you do go to HR, if it's on a workplace, you go to HR. Once you take that step, it's all in. It's like poker. It's all in. Put your chips on the table and go for it. We have text messages, pictures.
Yeah.
You can record anything, document, and and I'm really adamant that I don't want my previous words to be misconstrued. I do believe that everybody has a certain responsibility when it comes to having common sense in situations. With that said, no person should ever be put in a position where a sexual favor is either made to happen or implied to happen for them to get a position or keep a position. So, hey man, me too. With that said, I'm your boy Jay.
I'm Dre.
Don't forget to like, comment, or subscribe. Peace.
Tell me pretty lies, look me in the face. Tell me that you love me.